All right, welcome back to the channel. So, Danny Garcia versus Errol Spence Jr. will be fighting this November in a pay-per-view fight, and Gervonta Tank Davis gives his opinion of what the outcome of the fight will be, or more specifically, what the chances are that Danny Garcia or Errol Spence Jr. will win the fight. And he surprisingly calls it a 50-50 fight. Not quite sure that I agree with it, but let's talk about that. But also, let's talk about the aftermath of the fight for Danny Garcia or Errol Spence Jr., but specifically Errol Spence Jr., and what that means for his status on the pound for pound lists in boxing. Let's talk about those subjects in this video. All right, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. So we have a great fight coming up between Errol Spence Jr. and Danny Garcia. The fight will be on Fox pay-per-view. I believe it's going to cost $75. I think that it is November 21st is the weekend, but it's in the month of November. Errol Spence Jr., the rumor is that he is going into camp next Monday. What is today? Monday the 28th, he will be full sparring. He's been in camp. He goes back to sparring. So we're getting closer and closer to seeing, what the outcome of this fight is going to be. Gervonta Tank Davis, though, gives his insight on it. And it's pretty interesting, man. If you're not familiar with who Gervonta Davis is, I got to go through it. I'm sure you do. But Gervonta Davis is the 135-pound WBA regular champion. He fights with the BBC and also has a fight upcoming with Leo Santa Cruz, which I do believe is going to take place in the October timeframe. So the PBC has a bunch of pay-per-views. They have them in September, which is the Charlos. Then you have in October, which is Gervonta Davis and Leo Santa Cruz. And then November is Errol Spence Jr. and Danny Garcia. And supposed to be in December, maybe a Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury thing, but a very, very full card. And Gervonta Davis says that he thinks the fight could be a 50-50 fight. And so he speaks highly of both of the guys, but specifically what he says about Danny Garcia is that Danny Garcia has the power and Danny Garcia has the timing. And he knows exactly when it is to throw the punch and to be able to land the punch and do maximum damage. And he believes that that ability in Danny Garcia makes that fight a 50-50 fight, a fight that could swing either way. Now, my take on it is, no, that is not a 50-50 fight. It's only a 50-50 fight if Errol Spence Jr. chooses to make it a 50-50 fight. If he chooses to try to go for the knockout against Danny Garcia, to really press the gas on Danny Garcia and try to, just do Danny Garcia like he did a Chris Algieri or a Leonard Bundu or a Lamont Peterson, or, like in the words that Errol Spence Jr. Shared with everyone after he beat Mikey Garcia, when, he was in the locker room and people asked Errol, like, what do you think about your performance against Mikey Garcia? And Errol Spence Jr. said, yeah, it's good, but really I'm about to go back to bulldozing people. Now, he used the N-word instead of bulldozing, but he's like, yeah, that was fun. It was good to show people that I could outbox Mikey Garcia. I outboxed Mikey Garcia, but now I want to go back to bulldozing people. So in the next fight that Errol Spence Jr. had, he had Sean Porter, and he attempted to bulldoze Sean Porter, right? Well, bulldozing a bulldozer doesn't always work. Now, he wound up busting the tire of the other bulldozer, right? Doing some major damage, putting some major dents on it. But it was a tough fight. It was a lot tougher fight than people had expected. It's not a tougher fight than I expected, because what Sean Porter brings to the table. But as it relates to Danny Garcia, man, as long as Errol Spence Jr. chooses to fight in either does one or the other thing, or both, right? Stays on the outside when he needs to stay on the outside. But then if he is going to get on the inside, he needs to get all the way on the inside, watch that left hook, and really start wearing a Danny Garcia. But I don't really think that I don't have a lot of fear for Errol Spence Jr. coming through this fight. Especially if there was not the situation if there was not the situation where Errol Spence Jr. had been in a car accident. Now, that obviously is the biggest issue with the fight. Like, people are saying, hey, we don't know what he's going to be. Is he going to be 100%? Is he going to be 80%? What is he going to be? Now, from all of the training footage and stuff coming out of the camp and everything you've been hearing out of the camp, especially even with the rehiring and working with Blu-ray, who was his strength and conditioning coach for all of the fights that he had up until, I do believe, up until maybe before the Lamont Peterson fight, right? Where Errol Spence Jr. felt like, later on admitted that he was kind of getting off of his, losing some of the fire and consistency and, the excellent work ethic that he had as an amateur and as a young pro. So, as long as Errol Spence Jr. is all the way back physically, I don't think that this is a situation where it's a 50-50 fight. I think it's closer to like a 70-30 fight, or maybe a 60-40 fight. If Errol Spence is all the way together, I think it's like an 80-20 fight, an 80-20 fight, because Danny Garcia is a strong fighter, dude, but he got outboxed. And once, like, if you look at the fight with Keith Thurman and you look at the fight with Sean Porter, both of them got up big on Danny Garcia, because Danny Garcia is a bit of a slow starter, right? So Keith Thurman got out to a big lead on him. Sean Porter got out to a big lead on him. And then in the second half of the fight, Danny Garcia started, really did start making inroads in both of those fights, right? I thought he won the second half of the Keith Thurman fight, except for maybe the last couple rounds. And the same thing with the Sean Porter fight. But Errol can do the same thing as him. Just stay on the outside, box him from the southpaw stance, get 4 or 5 rounds in the bag. Then if he wants to start stepping up on the gas a little bit, because Danny Garcia then is going to really start trying to come at him. But Danny Garcia most likely is going to be coming from behind. And if Errol Spence Jr. then tries to push it, like say that there's some, tough rounds in between, say 7 and 11, or maybe, like 6 and 9, he can go right back to the boxing, the outboxing, the scoring punches in 10, 11, and 12. If he decides to do that, I don't think it's a 50-50 fight. I think he walks away with the fight with the decision, and I think he walks away with the decision pretty easily. There is the chance that he can go and stop Danny Garcia, but Danny Garcia has a very solid chin, and again, Danny Garcia has something coming back at you when you're throwing him hands, similar to like a Luis Ortiz. So, I wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe at some point in the fight that, that Danny might rock Errol Spence Jr., man, if he can really catch him with a shot. But even if he does that, I think Errol Spence Jr. has the boxing skills to get himself out of that too. So, I can't go with Gervonta Davis on the 50-50 thing. Now, the last part of this is, something that I want to continue to push, because I think that it is fair to Errol Spence Jr., and I think that it is, and I think that it's time. Errol Spence Jr. right now on many people's pound for pound list, I think he jumped onto the pound for pound list like ESPN and Rings or whoever these other ones are, at around number 6. I think after he beat Sean Porter, or after Mikey Garcia, I think he might have jumped to 4, right? But if he beats Danny Garcia, I really don't think that there is much of an argument that anybody can make that Errol Spence Jr. is not number 1. Because if you look at the level of his competition and the skill sets and the different skill sets of the people that he's fought and the places that he's fought them, I don't think that there's anybody in boxing over the last 3 years that has the record that Errol Spence Jr. has, man. It's just, and I think that it's important at a certain point in time that you really do take the performance of people, the recent performance of people into consideration. So, I can't put like the 3 people that are considered above Errol Spence Jr. most of the time are Canelo Alvarez. He tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs. But even if he didn't, and you look at the level of competition that he's faced, it's not the same as Errol Spence Jr. Sergey Kovalev, yes, he did move up to different weight classes, but Sergey Kovalev was washed up when he fought him. Rocky Fielding is not even a champion at 168, so, people giving Canelo Alvarez credit for wins at 168 is just ridiculous, because he never fought anybody at 168. And at 160 pounds, he fought Gennady Golovkin, He fought Gennady Golovkin. He fought Julio Cesar Chavez. And who else did he fight? Daniel Jacobs. Man, that is not the level. That is not the level of a Kell Brook, Lamont Peterson, Mikey Garcia, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia. If he beats Danny Garcia, and then if he beats Danny Garcia, he might be right back for another fight with Sean Porter. Man, at that point in time, dude, you just have to give this guy his credit, man. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. Disagree with Gervonta Davis? You let me know what you think in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow me on Twitter. I did just join Instagram. I should be getting that up, to be flashing around the screen pretty soon. But anyway, that's me on this one, and I'm out. Peace.